Have you ever felt like rejection was a personal attack? Like every no you've received was proof that you weren't good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough? What if I told you that rejection isn't just something to endure, but something you can use to your advantage? The ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, knew the power of rejection. They didn't fear it. They didn't resent it. Instead, they used it as fuel to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Marcus Aurelius said, "What if you could do the same?" In this video, we're diving deep into 13 Stoic lessons on how to turn rejection into your greatest advantage. Whether it's in your career, relationships, or personal ambitions, rejection doesn't have to be a roadblock. It can be a stepping stone. Stay with me until the end, because once you understand this, rejection will never control you again. Number 1, rejection is a teacher, not a punishment. Rejection feels like a slap to the ego, whether it's a job you didn't get, a relationship that fell apart, or an idea that was shot down. The sting is real. Our first instinct is to see rejection as a punishment, proof that we weren't good enough, that we failed. But a modern Stoic knows better. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Rejection is not a roadblock. It is resistance training for the mind. Imagine a boxer training for a fight. Every punch they take in sparring prepares them for the real battle. Without resistance, without pushback, they would step into the ring unprepared, weak, and easily defeated. The same is true for rejection. It is a form of training. It exposes our blind spots, revealing where we need to grow, refine our skills, or rethink our approach. A person rejected from a job may need to sharpen their expertise. A writer whose work is turned down may need to refine their storytelling. A business idea that fails may not be flawed, just mistimed or misdirected. But most people don't see rejection this way. They take it personally and retreat, wounded. This is where Stoicism separates those who crumble from those who rise. The Stoic does not ask, "Why did this happen to me?" but rather, "What can this teach me?" The key is to strip rejection of its emotional weight and see it for what it really is: feedback, guidance, and sometimes even a blessing in disguise. We are not entitled to success. We are only entitled to the effort we put in. The Stoic accepts this, knowing that every rejection is a lesson wrapped in discomfort. To reject rejection itself is to reject the opportunity to grow. Those who understand this truth are never truly defeated. Number 2, the opinion of others does not define you. Rejection feels personal. We assume that when someone turns us down, whether in work, relationships, or social situations, they are making a judgment about our worth. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you are pained by an external thing, it is not the thing that disturbs you, but your judgment of it. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. Imagine a man who pitches his business idea to an investor. He has worked on it for years, perfecting every detail. He believes in it, but the investor says no. Does this mean the idea is worthless? Does it mean he is not intelligent or capable? Number. It simply means that, for whatever reason, timing, risk appetite, or personal preference, the investor did not see the same potential. The rejection is not about the man, but about the situation. This is where most people fail. They internalize rejection as a verdict on their value. But Stoicism teaches us that opinions, whether praise or criticism, are external. They belong to the one expressing them, not the one receiving them. A modern Stoic understands this. He does not let applause inflate his ego, nor does he allow rejection to deflate his self-worth. He remains steady, knowing that external judgments are beyond his control. Consider an artist who submits her work to a gallery. If she is accepted, is she suddenly more talented than she was the day before? If she is rejected, does that erase the hours of mastery she has cultivated? Of course not. The work is the same. Her skill is the same. The only thing that changes is perception. The only difference is that one person's opinion favored her today, while another did not. Rejection is not a measure of value. It is a reflection of circumstance, preference, and timing, none of which define who we are. The Stoic does not attach his self-worth to the shifting opinions of others. He knows that true worth is internal, unaffected by the whims of approval or denial. He does his work, walks his path, and remains indifferent to the noise around him. Number 3, turn setbacks into strategic redirection. Rejection often feels like a dead end, but a Stoic sees it differently. It's a signpost pointing toward a better path. Marcus Aurelius put it best when he said, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." To the untrained mind, rejection appears as failure. But to the Stoic, it is simply raw material, fuel for the fire, an opportunity to transform adversity into advantage. Imagine an entrepreneur who pitches his business to multiple investors, only to be turned down repeatedly. A fragile mindset would see this as proof that his idea is bad or that he is unworthy of success. But the Stoic recognizes that rejection is never an absolute truth. It's just information. Perhaps the business model needs refining. Maybe the timing isn't right. Maybe the rejection itself reveals a better, more innovative direction that would not have been considered otherwise. The same principle applies to relationships, careers, and personal goals. When someone walks away from you, it may not be a loss, but a liberation, freeing you from a path that was never meant to be yours. When a job interview doesn't go as planned, it could mean that something better, more aligned with your true potential, is around the corner. The Stoic does not lament what was denied, but instead asks, "What does this make possible?" The world will not always open doors for you, but that doesn't mean your journey is over. Sometimes rejection is not a stop sign. It's a detour leading you to a road you never considered. The fire within you must burn brighter, consuming every challenge and transforming every setback into forward momentum. Number 4, rejection builds mental toughness. Seneca once observed, "He who fears death will never do anything worth of a man who is alive." The same applies to rejection. He who fears it will never take the risks necessary for growth. The pain of rejection is temporary, but the benefits of resilience last a lifetime. Think of athletes who train relentlessly despite losses. A boxer who gets knocked down doesn't quit the sport. He studies the fight, improves his form, and steps back into the ring stronger. The same mindset applies to rejection. It is not something to be avoided, but something to be endured again and again, until it no longer holds power over you. A modern Stoic does not crumble under rejection. because he understands that pain is temporary, but strength is permanent. Every rejection endured builds a thicker skin, a sharper mind, and an unshakable will. The weak retreat at the first sign of difficulty, but the Stoic embraces the challenge. He knows that each rejection, no matter how painful, is simply another step toward his ultimate goal. The secret is to reframe rejection not as a personal failure, but as training for the mind. Just as the body strengthens through resistance, the mind becomes unbreakable through repeated exposure to rejection. The world belongs not to those who never face rejection, but to those who refuse to be defeated by it. Number 5. Use their doubt as fuel for action. Many people collapse under the weight of rejection. They allow others' doubts to dictate their potential. But Epictetus reminds us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. The opinion of others should never be the deciding factor in your actions. If someone doubts you, let it serve as motivation, not discouragement. Throughout history, some of the most successful people were rejected, doubted, and dismissed before they proved themselves. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. If they had let rejection define them, they would have never achieved greatness. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent alone. It is the ability to use rejection as fuel. The modern Stoic does not argue with his critics. He silences them through results. He does not seek validation. He seeks mastery. He does not waste time complaining about rejection. He uses that energy to sharpen his skills, improve his craft, and push forward. The only person whose belief truly matters is your own. The moment you stop seeing rejection as a final verdict and start treating it as motivation, everything changes. Doubt is nothing more than a challenge, an opportunity to prove to yourself what you are truly capable of. You do not need permission to succeed. You need only the resolve to keep moving forward, regardless of who believes in you. Number 6. Detach from outcomes. Focus on the process. One of the greatest sources of suffering in life is attachment. Attachment to success, approval, and outcomes beyond our control. We work hard, hoping for a specific result, and when things don't go as planned, we feel devastated. But Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. A modern Stoic understands that rejection is only painful if we place too much weight on the outcome rather than the process. Imagine a man training for a marathon. He puts in months of effort, runs hundreds of miles, and prepares his body. On race day, an unexpected injury forces him to drop out. Is all that effort wasted? Not at all. The discipline, endurance, and mental toughness he developed in training remain with him. The same principle applies to anything in life, whether it's a job interview, a creative pursuit, or a relationship. If you define success only by the outcome, you set yourself up for suffering. But if you focus on the process, rejection loses its power over you. When you detach from results and instead commit to effort, you free yourself from the emotional turmoil that rejection brings. You understand that your only responsibility is to do the work, to prepare, to improve, to show up fully. Whether someone accepts or rejects you is not in your control. What is in your control is your response, your discipline, and your persistence. The moment you realize this, rejection stops being a personal failure and becomes nothing more than an external event, one that has no power over your internal state. Number 7, the art of indifference to rejection. Most people live in fear of rejection because they assign too much meaning to it. A person who is turned down for a date takes it as proof they are unworthy of love. An artist whose work is rejected assumes they have no talent. But Marcus Aurelius advises us, learn to be indifferent to what makes no difference. The truth is, rejection is often meaningless in the grand scheme of life. It only has the power we give it. A Stoic knows that most rejection is about circumstance, not personal value. A job rejection could be due to an internal hiring preference. A rejected manuscript might have landed in the hands of an uninterested editor, rather than one who would have loved it. A person uninterested in a romantic relationship may simply have different preferences. It has nothing to do with your worth. The modern world is full of people assigning meaning to things that don't matter. A Stoic refuses to play that game. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. You take action, but you do not become emotionally entangled in the results. You submit the application, but if rejected, you move forward without bitterness. You express interest in someone, but if they are uninterested, you do not dwell on it. Life continues. The opinions of others fluctuate. What remains steady is your internal state, untouched by external forces. When you embrace indifference to rejection, you become untouchable. You act boldly, you take risks, and you live fully because you are no longer weighed down by the fear of rejection. You understand that, in the grand scheme of things, most rejections are insignificant. What truly matters is how you carry yourself through them. Number 8, rejection forces you to be self-reliant. Many people rely on external validation for their confidence. They need acceptance from employers, friends, and social circles to feel worthy. But Epictetus reminds us, no man is free who is not master of himself. The true Stoic does not seek validation. He builds himself into a person who does not require it. Rejection is one of the greatest teachers of self-reliance. When someone says no to you, it strips away any illusion that others are responsible for your success. You realize that no one is coming to save you. No one is obligated to open doors for you. This can be a painful truth at first, but ultimately it is liberating. It forces you to take complete ownership of your life. Consider an independent filmmaker whose work is rejected by Hollywood executives. He has two choices: give up or create his own path. Many of the most successful creators, thinkers, and entrepreneurs did not find success by being accepted into existing systems. They built their own. The same applies to any individual facing rejection. The more you are turned away, the more you realize that you must carve out your own way forward. Self-reliance means recognizing that your value is not determined by others. It means developing your skills to the point where rejection no longer stops you. It simply redirects you. It means embracing rejection as a signal that you must build your own opportunities, rather than wait for them to be handed to you. The Stoic does not collapse under rejection. He sees it as proof that he must strengthen himself. He does not seek acceptance, he seeks mastery. And once he reaches that level, rejection no longer matters. The world cannot ignore a person who has built undeniable value within himself. Number 9. Silence your critics with success. People will doubt you. They will question your abilities, dismiss your ideas, and reject your work. Many will do so not because you lack talent or skill, but because they themselves are limited by their own fears and biases. But a Stoic does not waste energy arguing with critics. Epictetus put it plainly. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? The modern Stoic understands that the best response to doubt is not words, it is action. A person who is rejected has two choices, to complain or to improve. Those who complain stay stuck, bitter that the world does not recognize their value. But those who improve become undeniable. Instead of wasting time explaining why you are worthy, why you deserve a chance, or why someone else made the wrong decision in rejecting you, use that time to refine your craft. Let rejection be the fire that forges something unstoppable within you. History is full of people who were dismissed only to rise and prove their doubters wrong through sheer perseverance. The modern Stoic does not let rejection break him. He lets it build him. He does not waste time seeking approval from those who fail to see his potential. He does not argue with those who underestimate him. He works relentlessly until his success speaks for itself. Rejection is fuel. Use it wisely. Number 10. The fear of rejection is worse than rejection itself. Seneca observed, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Nowhere is this more true than in the fear of rejection. People will go to great lengths to avoid situations where rejection is possible. They won't apply for the dream job because they're afraid of hearing no. They won't ask for what they want in a relationship because they fear being turned down. They won't put their ideas out into the world because they are terrified of criticism. But what is worse, temporary rejection or a lifetime of inaction? The Stoic understands that fear magnifies suffering. Most of the time, rejection is not nearly as painful as we imagine it to be. The moment of hearing no is brief, but the regret of never trying lingers indefinitely. The modern Stoic trains himself to act despite fear, knowing that avoiding rejection is not the path to freedom, it is the path to mediocrity. Rejection itself is never the problem. It is our anticipation of it, our overthinking, our attachment to the idea that we must be accepted in order to be valuable. The Stoic rejects this belief. He knows that true power comes from taking action, regardless of the outcome. He understands that most rejections are insignificant in the long run, while the fear of rejection can quietly sabotage an entire life. The question is not whether you will be rejected. You will. The question is whether you will let that possibility control you. The Stoic's answer is clear. No fear, no hesitation, only forward movement. Number 11. Rejection is a call to adapt, not retreat. Rejection is not a final judgment. It is information. When an archer misses his target, he does not throw away his bow. He adjusts his aim. Seneca understood this when he said, An archer cannot hit the bullseye if he doesn't know where the target is. The modern Stoic does not see rejection as a failure. He sees it as data. Consider a business owner who pitches his idea to multiple investors, only to be rejected over and over again. A weak mind would take this as proof that the idea is bad or that he himself is not good enough. But a Stoic mind analyzes the situation. Are the investors rejecting the business model, or are they rejecting the way it is presented? Is the timing wrong? Is there an opportunity to pivot, refine, or take a different approach? Rejection is often an invitation to evolve. It forces you to ask better questions, to develop resilience, and to refine your approach. If one method doesn't work, try another. If one door closes, find a window. The world is full of people who gave up too soon because they misinterpreted rejection as a dead end rather than a necessary course correction. The Stoic does not retreat in the face of rejection. He adapts. He learns. He becomes better, sharper, and more precise in his efforts. He understands that success is not about never being rejected, but about refusing to let rejection stop him. Every no is simply a lesson on how to get closer to the right yes. The modern Stoic does not ask, "Why did this happen to me?" He asks, "What does this rejection teach me?" And then he moves forward, stronger, wiser, and completely unfazed. Number 12. Embrace the power of anti-fragility. Most people seek to avoid rejection because they believe it weakens them. They see it as a blow to their confidence, something to be feared and avoided at all costs. But a Stoic sees rejection differently, not as a wound, but as a strengthening force. Epictetus reminds us, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The modern Stoic does not talk about resilience, he lives it. He understands that rejection, rather than breaking him, can actually make him stronger. There is a concept called anti-fragility, introduced by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, which describes things that do not just withstand stress, but actually improve because of it. The immune system, for example, becomes stronger after being exposed to bacteria. Muscles grow when they are torn and rebuilt through exercise. A Stoic mindset operates the same way. Each rejection, each setback, each obstacle strengthens rather than weakens the individual. Imagine a writer who submits his work to a dozen publishers, only to be rejected by all of them. A fragile person would take this as proof that they should give up. A resilient person would endure, continuing to try. But an anti-fragile person, the Stoic, does more than endure. He learns, adapts, and improves. He refines his writing, studies the feedback, and submits an even stronger version. Over time, his rejection-sculpted discipline makes him unstoppable. Rejection is not something to resist. It is something to embrace. It is fuel for those who understand its power. The modern Stoic does not merely survive rejection. He thrives because of it. He grows sharper, more disciplined, and more capable with every setback. The more he is tested, the more formidable he becomes. This is the ultimate freedom, not just the ability to endure rejection, but the ability to use it to become even greater. Number 13. The ultimate power, mastering yourself despite rejection. At the core of Stoicism is self-mastery, the ability to remain calm in chaos, unmoved by praise or criticism, free from the control of external events. Marcus Aurelius captures this perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Rejection is an external event. It is outside your control. What is within your control is how you respond to it. The average person allows rejection to dictate their emotions, their self-worth, and their future actions. They become bitter, hesitant, afraid to take risks again. But the modern Stoic understands that real power does not come from avoiding rejection. It comes from refusing to be ruled by it. A person who is dependent on external validation is a prisoner of the opinions of others. If they are accepted, they feel worthy. If they are rejected, they feel unworthy. But a Stoic is free. His confidence does not rise and fall based on whether others say yes or no to him. He has cultivated inner strength, an unshakable foundation that is not affected by the shifting tides of approval and rejection. This is the highest form of mastery. To walk through life unbothered by rejection, knowing that it neither adds to nor subtracts from your intrinsic value. You act with purpose, not for approval. You pursue your goals, not for applause, but because they are worth pursuing. You do not seek validation. You seek excellence. The modern Stoic moves through life with this mindset. Rejection will come, but it will not touch him. He is steady, grounded, and completely unfazed. For he has mastered the only thing that truly matters, himself. Rejection is inevitable. No matter how talented, hardworking, or prepared you are, there will always be doors that close in your face. But here's the truth. Rejection only has power over you if you let it. A modern Stoic understands that rejection is not the end. It's information, it's redirection, and most of all, it's training. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Fear of rejection is often worse than rejection itself. But when you stop seeing rejection as a personal failure and start viewing it as fuel for growth, everything changes. So the next time you hear a no, remember, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a challenge, an opportunity, a lesson. Let it sharpen you, not break you. And most importantly, keep moving forward with the mindset of a Stoic, completely unfazed. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it to spread the wisdom of Stoic philosophy. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss future videos on Stoic living and personal growth. Thank you for watching, and I wish you strength on your journey.